In light of the next eruption that is about to happen like any second on the Reykjanes Peninsula in the Sudnuka crater series, they're moving homes in Grindavik. It sounds kind of crazy, but they're really doing it. They're really physically moving homes. So I wanted to tell you about that, and I have footage of that. But let's talk about the volcano right now. So there's an increased chance that we could see an eruption very, very shortly at any minute now. The Icelandic Meteorological Office has given an update. The land rise underneath the Svartsengi continues at a similar pace, and they're getting ready. They say we are ready. They have really significantly increased the defense walls around Svartsengi to be ready for the next blow that could threaten Svartsengi, the Blue Lagoon, and the power plant again. But of course, the risk is always if you build these monstrous defense walls and they keep the lava out from Svartsengi, which they did in the last few eruptions, but they had to build the walls higher and higher and higher because the lava carpets around it were getting higher and higher and higher. That's why we have these monstrous walls, mountains now, and you are creating a low spot in Svartsengi. So the risk is, should lava breach into that area, it has a free flow path like a dam breach, and there was a threat of like an underground lava tunnel that had formed that could have really reached Svartsengi and breached the defense walls very, very easily. Thankfully, they discovered this and tried to block that out. They say they haven't recorded too much seismic activity in the area in the last few days, but their measuring instruments might also have been influenced by the weather conditions again. So they think that the volcanic eruption can begin at very short notice. They think the most likely area for the next eruption is again between Sudnukur and Stora Skogfell, so where we have seen the last eruptions. And risk assessment so far remains unchanged until March 11th. But you see that new chart that shows the development of this magma accumulation and the estimated total volume of magma in that magma chamber that is underneath Svartsengi. And for us, of course, on the very right of this graph, that's the red line. That's important for us. So we see it's a little higher than all the other ones and when the other eruptions were triggered. So we will have to see. The volume of magma under Svartsengi in that magma chamber has now exceeded what was accumulated in that chamber before the last eruption was triggered on November 20th, 2024. So they assume that there is an increased probability that the next event will begin in a few days, but could also be a few weeks. They estimate very short notice again in comparison. In the last two eruptions that we've seen in that area, it took just 30 to 40 minutes from the first signs of the earthquake swarm that always comes before an eruption when magma's on the move until we saw the eruption itself. And while we have that increased risk for an eruption, they're demolishing homes in Grindavik. And they're taking away homes that have been built on cracks. Officials are saying do not travel to Grindavik at the moment. Don't let tourists come. Only be there if it's really necessary. But they still have a lot of work to do. There's only a few houses permanently occupied at the moment, but they're processing fish at the fish processing plants at Visir, for example. 51 tons of fish were processed just yesterday, and there were 150 people working. And we have to be aware that it is likely that the next eruption will be there where it was last time, but it also could go further south. We could always see something rupturing inside Grindavik, but the earthquakes, if they were stronger, we could see roads cracking again, so which would make it more difficult to get out of Grindavik. But the Grindavik Municipal Council has authorized the demolition of several houses in town, and you see the pictures here. It's they're being taken down, but not really demolished. So they're basically taking away the parts and they putting the houses in a container. And they're moving then the houses out of town and they will rebuild them elsewhere. I mean, most of these houses were almost brand new. And they're also doing this with commercial buildings as well. So they're using the materials. There's a commercial building at Stadarsund by the harbor, and they're moving this building. And the street is closed there, for example, because the house, there's a crack going underneath that house. And we've seen this at the Salthus restaurant. The whole house has tilted, a crack was going underneath, sinkholes were opening around it. So it's really crazy. They have a biotechnology building. It's called the RUV Biotechnology Building. It's located near the defense walls. It's unused and it may be demolished. And we've seen that this greenhouse thing has tilted and it's probably not usable anymore. The Salthus restaurant that I just spoke about, the town's infrastructure committee did not authorize the demolition of this restaurant. So they want to investigate whether it can be left standing, or even whether they want to leave it as a tourist attraction for later, like as a monument of the disaster. That is interesting. I wonder what the owner says. It seems to have been a quite nice restaurant, so I hope that this owner gets another location. And then also, you see it in the pictures, there was an extension to a nursing and residential home in Austurvegur. It was basically blown away when that magma intrusion happened on November 10th. So it was really cracked away from the building. And this extension was like 6 apartments, and unfortunately for the elderly, right? So they were affected by this. It was breaking away. They will have to demolish this because they think that attached to that extension to the east is a new building that is used for social activities for the elderly, and they now believe that that extension that has cracked away and is not used will damage that other building, so they're taking that away as well. And they really stress, everyone stresses, Grindavik is still a dangerous area. And right now in the Sutnuka crater series, keep in mind the measuring stations might not be super accurate. We have roughly like 5 earthquakes per day, and seismic activity has been slowly increasing since the beginning of the month. And we have roughly 20 million cubic meters of magma in there right now, maybe a little more. Something between 20 and 23 million cubic meters of magma. So it's going to be interesting, guys. I just wanted to give you that quick update. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave this video a like, share it with your friends. If you want to support the channel, there's links in the description. Support the channel becoming a supporting channel member. Click the join button, or buy me a few coffees or a coffee to keep me going on my buymeacoffee.com/silky website. It all goes towards my animals, my sick dog, and for feeding the horses this winter. So thanks for being on this channel and for supporting this channel with your supers and with your coffees and with being members. Welcome to all the new members. And yeah, I'll give you an update pretty soon in the membership section. And until then, stay safe and check out the video in the end screen. Interesting things are going on at Campi Flegrei, but also in Santorini. There's a risk that all these hotels might slide down the cliff, because there's a high risk of landslide, and all these buildings, or many buildings, are not built to code or are illegal. So check this video. There's the latest government inspection reports that are out. So see you there. Bye, guys.